Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Prospero.Ai stock market live stream. I'm sure if you guys are following along in the markets, you all know the big event that we have after the closing bell today, the NVIDIA earnings. We are going to break down what we are expecting for them and how they're going to be affecting the market. I think today we're seeing a little bit of tepid trading because of the massive importance that these earnings are going to play for the market heading forward. Although we are starting to see the markets rebound off their lows a bit. It was getting a little dicey there for a second. We were down almost pushing 2% in the QQQ, but now we're down close to 1% on the day for the QQQ, and the SPY is only down 0.6%, and the Dow and the Russell are about the same. So markets are kind of fighting back from the lows of the day. If you're a regular viewer in our streams, please like it up. We have a bunch of good topics to get through today. Obviously, like I said, the NVIDIA earnings are going to start us off once George gets in here. But then we're also going to be discussing SMCI. We talk about that stock a lot. They've had some negative events recently with a Hindenburg short report that came out on Tuesday, I believe. And then this morning, the company has delayed its fiscal year reporting. So a lot to discuss there, if it's smoke or if it's fire. But we'll get through all of the SMCI details. And then we have another Warren Buffett story. Berkshire Hathaway is the first non-tech company to hit $1 trillion in market cap. So a pretty amazing accomplishment. And we'll talk about, how Buffett's been able to do it and how he still does it deep into his 90s. At the end of this week, it is August 28th today. If anybody's watching this in the future, comment the date that you're watching this. But the last trading day of August will take place this Friday. Market will be closed on Monday for Labor Day, and then Tuesday will be the beginning of September market action. And September is typically the weakest month for the stock market. So we'll talk about if you should be worried, how you should be investing, how you should be positioning, what our signals are showing, or if that's not a big deal and you should just not worry about the calendar turning over. And in the month of September, we have an Apple event scheduled for September 9th, where they'll show off their iPhone and watch models. They have an interesting tagline that I'll share with you guys when we get into that story. But I always love seeing the Apple events. I think they do a good job usually trying to hype up their products. So we'll see what Apple's able to come up with this year and what they're showing off for AI in their new models and products. And we have two more stories to get to. One being Foot Locker and Abercrombie and Fitch both had negative reactions to their earnings. George has talked about how retail is not his favorite sector of the market for a while. We'll break down why these stocks are dropping and if retail can, catch a bid amongst investors, or you're gonna have to stay away from those stocks for the near future. And then last but not least, we have a crypto-related story for our crypto people out there who watch the stream. Before we get into the model portfolio update at the end, which we are going to go into a few minutes early today because it is such a big moment and period of time in the market with these NVIDIA earnings. There's a lot to go over in the portfolio. So stick around to watch the live changes that we make. We're going to be switching over around 3:35, so slightly before our normal switchover point. But before we do that, we're going to be covering this story about the crypto. OpenSea, which for anybody who's followed the NFT space, which was huge in the last crypto bull run, they're the largest NFT platform. They just received a Wells notice from the SEC, which typically comes before some kind of lawsuit is levied against you. So we'll break down what that means for OpenSea, how the SEC just doesn't seem to want anything to do with crypto. They've now given Wells notices out to several of the largest crypto companies out there. Hey, George, welcome to the stream.
We're straight to the Prospero lab today.
Yeah, you're ready. What a big moment in time in the market we have today with the NVIDIA earnings after the bell. I've seen so many people talk about, how each NVIDIA earnings report now is becoming like a must-watch moment for investors. And I actually saw there's actually real watch parties across America today for NVIDIA earnings reports. So it's pretty insane. But yeah, the data's finally come. The earnings will be here. I believe 420. I heard they're going to be actually released. But yeah,
Wow.
let's dive into NVIDIA. How are we feeling just about an hour or so before the event happens?
Yeah, I mean, the way it was performing yesterday and today, like I really thought that we were heading towards like a run up into earnings, just because it was performing a lot stronger than even a lot of other um, semiconductor stocks. So I thought we were heading into that, but now it's like, the question is, are there whispers that like I have a very hard time seeing them doing poorly in earnings. So to me, it fits more that perhaps there's shorters coming in to get the best price before, and we are starting to see the market start to turn a little bit. So there is something to be said about that potentially. But yeah, I mean, what I think I ultimately might be planning to do is stay for the release and sell before the conference call. Even though Jensen Huang really normally does well on conference calls, I'm a little bit worried with how guidance might look. But yeah, it's a tough call. I am expecting earnings to be good. Huang does such a good job. But the market's having a tough and volatile day. Like I've seen QQnet option sentiment bouncing around today too. I saw it like as low as 40. I think it started the day, closer to 60. So yeah, we got one of those tough days to read where it's all over the place. I don't even know where it's at now.
Now, I think the reason why, if I had to guess, that why the market is putting so much pressure on NVIDIA is because AI, the AI story has been the main driver of the market. And it's not just NVIDIA that these earnings are going to affect, Meta, Microsoft, Google, all of these other AI companies. Could we see them react to the earnings too today?
I mean, we've definitely been seeing NVIDIA like literally move the market in many circumstances, especially as it's been doing so well. Yeah, there's a lot of like everything's kind of benchmarked to it now, because a lot of what's been moving the market this year has been AI. And if you're looking for a temperature check on if demand, like if AI is still kind of expanding, if it's a bubble, whatever, like the best temperature check is NVIDIA. And as long as it continues to grow at the pace it's growing, increase its guidance, it's hard to say that AI is slowing down. So you're going to get a lot of exuberance in the market overall, because that's what's been moving it like this year in recent memory, exuberance in AI.
Now, one of the AI players that was a Prospero Signals darling, not anymore though, was SMCI, which Hindenburg is a short reporting, firm where they always release short reports. So I saw that they had one on SMCI, and the stock kind of got hit yesterday when it was released. But I didn't really put too much stock in it because I don't. Hindenburg takes positions and then releases their report, so you never know if it's true or not. But then today, SMCI said that their annual filing and reporting is not going to come out on time for this fiscal year. So now I think it's concerning investors a little bit more, and the stock is getting hit a little bit even harder today. So is this a case where there's smoke, there's fire, and SMCI was doing something a little funky with their reporting, or what do you make of this story?
I mean, it's never good for this kind of thing to happen. Any delays, and I mean, and it's like it's such an interesting story because SMCI has been around for so long, and they were kind of like not a very notable company. And now they've become like such a well-known technology, like their cooling technology especially. So yeah, it's very very interesting. But I mean, whether in these situations either there's an honest mistake, and it's a big deal when it gets announced because people don't know if it's an honest mistake or if there's some kind of malfeasance that gets uncovered, or they can say it was actually intentional or actually misleading. Some of these mistakes, they could just be errors and they don't necessarily affect the numbers that much, but you didn't comply with, by the book accounting. There's a lot of permutations here, but unfortunately, like anything, people are going to react to news like this as if you did something wrong, as if there was something harmful done, because they don't want to get, obviously there'll be an even bigger reaction if they do find out that SMCI did something wrong or really materially changed the numbers in a way that was misleading in terms of how their business was developing. That all remains to be seen, but you always kind of see the reaction as if that was the case.
And I did see just today the net option sentiment for SMCI hit zero within Prospero. So it seems like even the institutions are, taking away their bullish bets. So it's not something that for retail investors that watch the stream, you would suggest like buying the dip in right now. You want to see how this situation plays out for sure, right? Before you'd go back in.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was at like 40 net option, like SMCI runs in net option sentiment frequently, and like, the high, in the high 70s on even like the low end. It's frequently in the 90s. So yeah, like I definitely think we're in a situation where it's like radioactive at this point. Like, we always benchmark like a 0 is the kind of score that you get for like, consumer cyclical stocks or like real estate stocks that like are really like beat up, or like a bank stock that people don't want to speculate on because, they'd rather own the collateral because there's like dividends or something like that. Like SMCI at 0 really is a landmark in terms of like how far I've seen a stock fall.
Yeah, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. It seems like it's like almost acting like a leveraged AI play. It moves so much and so quickly, but we'll keep our eyes on that, especially with the NVIDIA report today. We'll see how it affects SMCI. We have a story about Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. So Warren Buffett is turning 94 in 2 days, but it looks like he got an early birthday present because Berkshire hit 1 trillion in market cap today. It's the first non-tech company to achieve that milestone. So good for Buffett. It seems like the capstone achievement of his investing career at his ripe old age. But, just a life of compiling stocks, and I guess anybody could do it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, anyone. I mean, it's a testament to his work, right? He's a legend. I think it's one thing about Buffett that people might not know, and I've told some Buffett stories before. So I'll try not to retell one of the ones I've told often. But something that a lot of people don't know about Buffett is that one of the things that built Berkshire Hathaway was this idea of, there's a concept called float. So insurance, an insurer like Geico, basically, could take your money when you pay your premiums and put it in like a safe investment, because they might have to pay out those premiums someday. And the last thing they want to do is lose that. And then you have an accident and you want your money, and they're just like, oh, we lost it. Buffett, especially because his brand of investing was so safe, he was so trusted. But I don't know if he had to get specific regulatory permission. He came up with an idea of that float, that money, those premiums that you advance, that are kind of sitting in the bank waiting to see if you need them or what have you. He came up with the idea of investing that float. And that's one of the things that built Berkshire Hathaway, because as Geico grew, he could invest, more and more money of that float. And that was a big driver of the growth of his business. But I think the big question is, who's going to take it over? We talked about like how Charlie Munger was like, kind of the oldest protege, RIP Charlie, was kind of like the oldest protege we'd ever seen. I think that's the question. Like, does someone take over Berkshire Hathaway? Is there a next Warren Buffett. I mean, there's a lot of value investors that are kind of under his tutelage. So that's the really interesting thing to see for me. I'm going to listen to the next question and be right back.
Yeah. So when I saw this story, I thought it was interesting, and I was a little surprised about how it was the first non-tech company to reach that point. It's almost a certainty with inflation and just how the market works that there's going to be a lot more companies in the next decade that reach the 1 trillion milestone. I have a list in front of me of some of the companies that, actually, they're the ninth through the 17th next biggest companies in the world after Berkshire and the ones that are above 1 trillion. So let me read some of them for you, and maybe you pick which one you think will get there first. I have a feeling I could guess which one you're going to say, but so first, as in the biggest on this list, is TSMC, Taiwan Semi, at $879 billion, and then it goes Eli Lilly, Broadcom, Tesla, JP Morgan, Walmart, Novo Nordisk, United Health, and then Visa. And that range goes all the way down to Visa at 520 billion. So they obviously are a lot behind Taiwan Semi. But which on that list do you think will get there next?
I mean, Taiwan Semi is the obvious one, but you know how I don't love the political risk involved in Taiwan Semi. So I don't know. I think you probably would know that Eli Lilly is one that I would say, just because I mean they're so good with their R&D and their growth story is so interesting. So I expect their current drugs to do well. They're positioned well in a lot of it, and they always kind of continue to do good research on an ongoing basis. So I think that's one, and then Broadcom. I think Broadcom is like we talk about it as like a safe pick in chips, just because they're so well diversified. They're using a lot of a lot of cell phones, especially. I think they do a lot of like cars as well. They've really embedded themselves in a lot of systems that diversify them out of just computers or servers. So I think those are my two choices. A little obvious for people that listen to me, but sometimes you got to say the obvious thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the next story we have is about the largest company in the world, Apple. Although I did see that I think if Nvidia moves 13% today, it will reclaim that title. But that's that would be a decent move. But Apple has a event scheduled for September 9th. I love watching the Apple events personally, where they show off their products. They're going to show off the new iPhone and the new Apple Watch models. The tagline for this event is "It's Glow Time." So we'll see what that has to do with the products that they release. They'll probably show off some of their new AI features that they're working on. Are you excited for this event? How are you feeling about September 9th Apple event?
Wait, AI features as in Microsoft's
Yep.
Microsoft's AI features on their phones? I mean, no, I've been, we've been doing these for long enough that I remember talking about maybe the VR headset's going to finally be the product that brings Apple back. Maybe it's going to be the car, if they ever believes it, be where Apple's going to get its mojo back. But, we've now seen them like that VR, some people thought it was cool, but it pretty much flopped, right? They've canceled the car. Are there even any new, even their new products, like the AI product, they didn't even build themselves. Or I mean, I guess they build themselves, but their tech is not the underlying tech. So yeah, Apple kind of Apple, since we've been on these live streams, since we've been talking about them, they've been nothing but a disappointment. And I've even transitioned a lot on it, being maybe Apple can come back, maybe they can, use their kind of innovative roots, their good design principles. But no, they seem to be in a prolonged slump. And whether or not they get out of that slump, who knows? But they're definitely in it.
So I think this is a good follow-up question, because you're right. We always do talk about how Apple, their tech and their products don't seem to be the cutting edge like they used to be, but their stock still has pretty much performed for the most part. What can you point to for that? Is it the buyback? I mean, even in that time, we've had Buffett, cut his stake in Apple by 50%, which I thought would have caused the stock to downturn much more than it did. So what can we point to for the fact that Apple's stock has been able to maintain performance even though they're kind of losing their tech edge?
What can we point to? I mean, they're like a value stock now, right? They're buying back stocks. They're like cash flowing. There's like plenty of value stocks that have. I mean, they're not the where they're trading is not a great value. So like a value stock is the operative word there. But they're on their way. There was a time that any of these like old school value companies were growth companies, and now they're just kind of like, you can even think of something like IBM, right? That's kind of on like the bear case, what they're going to turn into, right? A company that continues to make profits. They continue to like coast off of like what they used to be, like how they used to be innovators. And I think that's actually a good, comparable. But they could, they're not quite, they haven't been kind of like a failed state for long enough that you can count them out for good, right? And there's a very like, here's what I will say. I'd say they're one non-innovative CEO away from being Apple. I mean, away from being IBM. But they might be one innovative CEO for being Apple again. We literally saw that with Apple, right? It wasn't as long of a slump, but basically Jobs left. They started to do a lot worse. Then they brought him back and boom, right? And obviously, unless Jobs is returning in robot form, they're going to have to find some kind of new savior. But I think I don't like, I'm comfortable saying Tim Cook isn't the guy that is going to make Apple an innovator again or change their trajectory. He doesn't appear to be that guy. He appears to be like a very smart and capable steward of the company, but not one that clearly is seeing them decline as a leader in innovation.
I totally agree with that point, and I think it's not unprecedented with the CEO change, like you were saying. I think the perfect example besides Apple is Microsoft, from Gates to Ballmer to Nadella, and the kind of performance that they've seen in their stock. We have a question on YouTube from Michael Dodd. Could Apple make a good defensive stock in a volatile market with extended negative sentiment?
I mean, it's not bad in tech, right? It's not bad if you want to own a tech stock in that, but I don't think like as defensive. You're welcome. As a defensive overall, I don't love Apple. I don't really like tech stocks as defensive plays because, as you can kind of see with my portfolio, I view like big growth stocks as what you have to hold on to. Innovative companies that, I defend the downside with shorts, but I always want to own those big innovators. So I don't really think of them as defense. Like as defense, I'd rather own shorts and I'd still rather own my big innovators. If you're thinking of pure defense for a long only portfolio, if you don't short, you're looking at utility stocks, maybe energy stocks. They've been more volatile. Utilities have been better this year. Real estate is not, traditionally has been better, but not great. So I think you're pretty much looking at, utilities, banks, consumer defensive. Those are the kinds of things that I view as good categories of defensive stocks. Apple is not a great stock to play defense with, in my opinion.
And so at the culmination of this week, the calendar will flip over, and the last trading day of August is Friday, and we'll be in September. Typically, September is the weakest month for the stock market. Does that data point get on your radar? Do you care about that? Are you thinking about that, how you're positioning, or not really?
I mean, I'm not looking at any rules this year. And I'll tell you why I'm not looking at any rules. Like election years are supposed to be great, right? And if anything, as we're getting closer to the election, we're seeing more volatility, not more, bullishness. So no, I think you gotta throw all tradition out the window. Like, other than the fact, like, throw tradition out the window. But I would say, that being said, there might be natural volatile forces, bear forces that we're seeing that would be exerting themselves on the market anyway, that could accelerate by people saying, oh, September is a bad month. I think it's that mindset. But this year, and like I would say, a lot, and we say this all the time. I think a lot of traditions were broke this year. They say bull markets had to have breadth. We didn't really see that. They'd say we needed interest rate cuts to do this, for it to have a good year or not have a terrible year this year. We didn't see them. We haven't seen them yet. They're about to arrive though. But certainly we didn't need them to have a bull year this year. So no, I think we're kind of in a place where you can't be too attached to rules. We're not really seeing them come to fruition in this market.
That's a really good point. And I guess that due to the AI revolution we're seeing driving the market? That is causing all of these typical rules that we see, that historically the market follow be broken?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Like, AI is, I think when you look at breadth, right? That's what we say all the time. Like, one of the problems with market breadth and why it hasn't, come, I think, is because people see a company like Nvidia that is growing at an insane rate and really profitable. So why would you want to own a small cap stock when you could own a large cap stock that also has, significant growth opportunities? So yeah, I just basically think that I think that we're in a very new world, and I can't think of a stock, and just to say, like, to drive on that point even more, I can't think of a stock that carries the market as much as Nvidia, and Nvidia in this AI world. Like, whatever happens with Nvidia, this whole market is going to move. I'm fairly certain of that. Um, so yeah, that's part of how I'm setting it up. I've got a lot of shorts. I might adjust going into the event, but basically, I think I'm planning to keep two of my Nvidia positions, and everyone else, and basically, like, yeah, everybody else, a lot of shorts, like, just to make sure if the market goes down out of Nvidia, I at least going to recover from that.
So today is the Super Bowl for investors around the USA, is what you're
I
saying with
can't
the
believe
Nvidia
there's watch
earnings.
parties. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean Jensen Huang is like the man.
I know.
Remember last quarter, I believe he was out there signing random objects for people after the crushed earnings. So we'll see if he does
Those
that again this year.
those leather jackets.
Yeah. Um, so you're mentioning how small cap stocks, have just not been able to catch a bid amongst investors. Two of them are struggling today after disappointing earnings, although it's not from the earnings themselves. Foot Locker and Abercrombie and Fitch are both down over 10% today. I think the guidance, like you always say, is what really hurt these stocks, and how they really stressed how the environment is becoming increasingly uncertain. Which is, I think, as we've said before on this live streams, uncertainty is kind of like the worst word that stocks and the stock market could hear the management of a company say. Correct?
Yeah, those are definitely the magic words to scare people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, we've been talking about it specifically in consumer cyclical. Like, I don't know how, like the spending couldn't keep up forever. Consumer debt, inflation was here. Consumer debt levels are super high. Delinquencies are starting to rise. Obviously, there's a lot of affordability problems. Even if you might want to sell your home. It's been a tougher market to do that in some areas. And so, yeah, I think it's just a very tough, it's a very tough economy that might happen, it might not happen. And then I think other people, like we're talking about, are probably forecasting, thinking that there could be issues with, like, political stress and things like that could cause, potential problems for their sales, and they don't want to, like, the last thing they want to do is forecast on the downside. So yeah, I mean, especially in consumer cyclical, that's something we've been saying for like a long time that we're concerned about, and clearly that day is here.
So we've come to that point in the stream. We have one more topic. We're going to get over to the model portfolio slightly early today with everything that's going on in the stock market. But for our viewers, feel free to comment right now. We'd love to address any topics that we didn't cover today that you want to hear on the stream. But we'll start our last topic and we'll see if we get any comments. So OpenSea, which is the largest NFT platform, which was kind of before we started these live streams, George. So I don't know how much you paid attention to the last NFT bubble during the crypto cycle. But they just got a Wells notice from the SEC, which comes before a lawsuit is levied on a company, basically. They're they're on a long list now of crypto-related companies that have gotten a Wells notice. Robinhood, Coinbase, Kraken are some of the other ones that got them from the SEC. So it just doesn't seem like the SEC has any kind of desire to embrace the crypto industry. What do you make of this happening, and how do you feel about the crypto industry related companies going forward because of this continual SEC?
I mean, sorry, I'm trying to I'm trying to make a potential move here. I'm thinking about getting out of ON Semiconductor. The markets are really going up.
Are they? It's because our stream started.
I know. I'm pulling the trigger. Sorry, everyone. We're making a live move. I mean, this is a tough. This is like a hard day. So, in terms of the volatility. So
Yeah, the bots and the algorithms are going crazy at battle today. Who will win, the Bulls or the Bears?
I don't know. All right, we're doing that, and we're doing this. I'm always ON Semiconductor is always my hedge. Okay. I made the move. Oh great. Now it's decided to go back down. Oh well. We're gonna trust the overall upswing, grab those wins. All right, now to crypto. I try to be I think cryptocurrencies, a lot of not the shit coins, there's legitimate value, long-term value to them. And I've always been of that case, even though some people it gets a little meme stocky with some people sometimes, where it's well, I would love for you to talk about what your thesis here and not just tell everybody to buy it. But what I will say about NFTs is those were always incredibly stupid. I just cannot even believe that was actually a thing. And the biggest reason it was dumb is it's just what's great about a painting? When it's on your wall, you own it, right? You own it. Someone can steal it, whatever, but they got to come into your home and get it if they want to do it. An NFT, everybody's oh yeah, it's it's on the blockchain. People get blah, blah. It's just except someone could take a screenshot of it, right? It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. If someone wants to come and take a picture of a painting in your house, that's great. They don't have the painting. But someone takes a screenshot of your NFT and it's literally the exact same fucking thing that you have. That's the dumbest part about it. And it was always dumb. I'm not surprised that they lost 90% or more or whatever. In terms of the Wells notices, it's going to be I think a lot of these places, I'm trying to figure out the right balance to strike here. I don't really like the way crypto developed in terms of when you look at all of the criminal activity that took place. It's hard to say it was developed in the right way. Now, are slow to react governments complicit in that? Absolutely. They're absolutely complicit. They should have made some attempt to meet in the middle, regulate all of that stuff that they're still trying to do, but they don't know how to do anything. That being said, I don't think it should have developed in this way. And I think there should have been much more of an attempt to self-regulate. And I've met some people that tried to do self-regulating in crypto that were very admirable people, them especially. But I think that's the real tragedy of it. I saw similar things in the mortgage space, whatever. If you don't make some attempt to look at your peers, figure out a way to install good practices, you're going to have, criminal activity, as we saw. And it's a little it's tough, right? Because you don't want to have, you don't want to necessarily have, a bunch of people who, were maybe it wasn't their idea, they're getting in, and since it's unregulated, they're just there. You don't necessarily want to punish people who got into an area that they might not have known was going to be regulated or needed regulations because the government was so slow. For all the people, crypto booming, if you get into crypto and you're not advised well, you could very easily have arrived here and not known that what you're doing is not legal by securities laws, right? That could happen to you as an innocent mistake. And those kinds of people getting punished is not I consider that a failure of the regulators to act and just be very clear and punish not just the criminals. Figure out who's the ones early on that are skirting securities laws and just make it clear who is. So someone who's starting a crypto business can Google that and see oh, that's not legal. But there's just been a lot of mistakes that have been made, and it's just kind of a mess.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I remember a lot of, or not a lot of, but some of the big social media personalities and names launching NFT projects. So I wonder if they'll face any repercussions, like you were saying, or it's just going to be the platforms. But going to be interesting to watch play out. On that note, it is 3:37. We are 45 minutes away from NVIDIA earnings, people. Who's ready? Let's see in the comments. Is anybody excited or nervous for NVIDIA? We're going to start doing our model portfolio update. So we're going to make some of the final moves pre-NVIDIA earnings, but let's see how our chat is feeling.
How's our chat feeling? I'm getting everything set up.
No comments yet.
No chat. We don't know how our chat's feeling. All right. Well, I'm going to start setting up the model portfolio. I don't really expect.
Joseph's holding strong.
I'm not going to have 3 going in, but I'm considering 2, but we'll see. All right, here we go.
Mario said no clue. At least he's honest. I think a lot of people are probably the same, even though they have an opinion, but it's 50-50 to me too, Mario.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, no, I think it's better than 50-50, but it's kind of you have to do a more intelligent. I'm gonna turn on my air conditioner. It's hot in here. You got to do a more intelligent calc than that, because the downside is you got to adjust the risk and the comparables there. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm almost going to share the screen. I'm just getting everything all set up. You doing anything for Labor Day, Steven?
I am. Saturday, I am driving down to South Jersey, barbecue at my dad's, and I think just spending the day there, but we'll see.
I'm actually, this is my, I'm going, I have some meetings tomorrow, but my birthday's on Saturday. So
Oh,
I'm taking a few days.
happy early
Spend
birthday.
time.
You're right near Warren Buffett.
Oh, when's his birthday?
It's 2 days, so maybe it's the day before you. I think it's August 30th.
Oh, interesting. I never even knew that. All right, where's QQQ net option sentiment?
QQQ is at 53.
How about SPY?
SPY is at 46, and also the screen is not shared. I don't know if you wanted to do that or not yet.
I did want to do that. I was just forgetting.
Haley says happy birthday. Mario, if I knew I would be living in Maui, talking about NVIDIA earnings. Maui, that's the one place you would go? I think I'd go somewhere else.
It's so far away from everything. Yeah, like Hawaii is beautiful, but it's far away. Check is down again.
After reducing our tech positions yesterday, we are seeing a little more red and we'll reduce more. We'll look for targets consumer discretionary.
See, it's good to help you. It's good when you read. I was like, oh, not just targets, bear targets. Growth stocks are just the ones getting hit.
Looks like growth is on the bear menu, so we will see how this trend looks, but doesn't change our plans much. This and the above could easily shift the complete opposite way after NVIDIA earnings. I saw a debate on Twitter whether it's NVIDIA or NVIDIA. I feel like we always say NVIDIA.
No, I hate. I actually always write NVDA because like I don't even like to spell it. It's just a weird. Whole thing's just weird.
That is true. It'd be a cool backstory to find out how they named it.
I had the right. Okay, I want to look at position exits first. Oh God, I forgot I didn't. I almost sold more of the SMCI. Actually, I'm gonna do one because I feel like it's gonna recover well if NVIDIA has good earnings, but we can get better exposure to that. Actually, it's got such low net option sentiment. Let's not even mess around with that. Come on. Show me the metrics. There you go. I think we're just going to. No, the best way to do that. All right. PLD, maybe. This is very annoying all of a sudden. It's like. I don't have time for this. All right, I guess we have to look quick. AX. Well, I don't know what is going on with this today, but. Go, BBTC. Here we go. Grab these quickly. I wanted more time. This is like very annoying. I just want to take a quick scan. All right, I just have to look in the app. All right. Now we need to go. I get a new move score now. All on my own. All right. We need to do this very quickly. All right. J not having it is kind of funny. No. That's annoying. All right. We're not even doing this. We're just picking them.
Is Google letting us down today?
I mean, no, this is like the report is in a new fashion. We got to be practical about this. I do just want to see that. I have nearly the amount of time I wanted to. Okay. Okay. Oh, not time to send it yet. Could have sent it at 4. But now I'm going to go back here and God damn it. Owen went down further. Oh well. I'm definitely going to exit one in video position, but I might wait on that a little bit. Trying to figure out what other shorts I don't want to exit. I think we are going to yeah, I'm just going to add one more ON position back.
So would it be fair to say you're cautiously optimistic heading into these NVIDIA earnings?
Yes, I am. All right, doing this one thing. Okay, I finished that. I settled up. I was like, that's after hours. All right. 2 NVIDIA positions is the final call. And, and I got to send my trading letter.
2
And then
NVIDIA
any other
positions,
questions?
hedging it with an on. Just from Joseph, are we staying live through NVIDIA earnings? Which I don't believe so, right? I think they come out at 4:20, so they're like the Apple. Like when you get as big as Apple and NVIDIA, you can wait 20 minutes to release your earnings. But yeah, the
Thanks
time
for
has
joining us,
come.
everybody. Good. May the odds ever be in your favor.
Yes, and happy Labor Day to everyone. I will see everybody back next week.
All right.
Bye bye.